Phil's acting like a drunk. Okay, folks, we're live, and Phil's over here trying to get it where he can hear us. We can hear him, and I don't seem to have the ability to mute him, and so don't know what the deal is. I'm also going to tell him to try settings. Maybe he can see that. And so you're watching us. But Donna is ready to start presenting. So I'm going to switch. Do you want me to switch to the slideshow, Donna?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we're going to switch to the slideshow. And hello, everybody. Donna can introduce. There we go. And I'm going to switch to the slide presentations.
So hi, everybody. We're desperately trying to get Phil on here, and I'm just going to pitch in for him right now. And hopefully he will get on and can pick up, where he needs it. So you have just seen Dr. Kevin Polk, who is our genius creator of the Matrix and who put together our wonderful mastermind group for using Prosocial in the professional world. And we all adore our mastermind group and work very hard in it. So today what we're doing is we're showing how to transform the dysfunctions of a team. And we're wondering...
Hello.
Phil?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, the magic. I don't know what I did. I just redid it and I'm back on. Hello, everyone.
Well, hello. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we started.
Reboot. We just started.
Yeah.
You just started with the first slide. So
okay.
So you take it away, Phil.
All right. So here we go. So apologies. Technology gremlins got me here. I think I'm ready to roll. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Donna and I's presentation on how to transform dysfunctional teams. And we're here, as Donna had said, to show you how you to have you experience also how you can apply the Prosocial Matrix to help dysfunctional teams learn how to shape themselves up. So to start things off, I'm going to ask a question of everybody, which is going to be, has anybody out there ever been responsible for or experienced or been a part of a team that had dysfunctional stuff going on? So the best way to do this then would be we're going to be looking over here in the chat window to see
Kevin
what
says yes.
to see what Kevin has said yes. Anybody else? Yeah, I can't see. My chat's not working right now. So
Benny has.
Benny has. All right.
What about you, Michael and John? Yes, yes. Yes, numerous times for Michelle. And Nicole and Cliff. Cliff says yes times 39. I agree with that one.
Yeah. And I experienced a few myself today before I got on this webinar. So I was involved in one or two dysfunctional situations as far as I could tell. So yeah, these dysfunctions, they really drain individuals and groups, and it can really take its toll on teams. In Pat Lencioni's book, which Donna and I are very familiar with, entitled The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And what we're going to do is give you a taste of how we would go in and help to fix these 5 dysfunctions within the team and help the team move toward cooperation, collaboration, and high performance. And this is really kind of a template that you can use and you can apply to any team. And when we use the word team, what Don and I are talking about is it could be your family is a team, the school that maybe you work in is a team, your community, your church group. You could be running a business or working in a business or an organization. Anywhere individuals gather together is what we're going to define as a team. So we'd like to begin where we start all of our work, and where we actually want to start with is with this question right here in front of you. And as you see this question in front of you, a response is going to be showing up inside of you. And I'm curious as to what kind of response might be showing up inside of you as you look at this question. So if anybody would want to chat in to the question, who's important to you, how would you like to respond? His wife, yes, absolutely, yes. Right. Anybody else?
My kids.
Yeah, well, for me, my daughter, who's downstairs. My wife is playing piano right now downstairs, so I can hear her playing.
And for Jenny, it's her partner and mother, and Christina, her family and her clients.
Excellent.
John,
right.
Teammates.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah.
Cliff, I better follow Kevin's lead. Yeah, you better. If you want to go home.
Following those verbal rules. Here we go. Right. Here we go. That's great. That's great. Awesome. So, yes. Yeah, so we got a nice little, and as you can see, what's happening here in real time is as we begin to get in touch with who and what's important to us,
Now, Phil,
now that question is now embedded.
Hey, Phil.
Is it cutting out? Yes.
You probably want to repeat that. Your audio cut out. Sounds like you're
okay. All right. So
it's a little squirrely.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I'm going to back up, and now you're looking at the matrix, the traditional matrix diagram that we all know, and maybe some of you have seen it for the first time, but it's really a diagram that's going to be orienting the individual in the group to two different things. And the first thing it's going to orient us to is what's going on the outside, what we're sensing with our five senses, as well as what we might be noticing, what might be showing up inside of us in whatever setting that we're in. I'm here in my office, you're listening and watching from wherever you're at, and we could be noticing that, as well as noticing that whatever we do in life, we're doing something to move either toward who or what's important to us, or we're doing things to move away from uncomfortable, we call it yucky stuff that might be showing up inside of us. So this diagram we're going to have up in front of our group members before we begin asking that question, who's important to you, because that's going to be setting our context to have what we call a collaborative conversation amongst team members themselves. And we're starting responses, and those responses on our first, and then very quickly we're going to be moving over here into the lower left is whatever to you, fear, right? And maybe somebody else might want to weigh in here too.
We missed most of that, Phil. Your internet
I'm sorry.
Is gone wonky on us.
There's something wrong with the audio.
That's the audio. Well, actually, his video freezes as well.
Yeah.
All right.
And what it is the internet stopping. It goes into a buffer process and tries to catch up, and then we're not hearing anything.
Okay. All right. Because it's all right. Well, I'm looking stable from my end. So where would I want to back up to, Kevin?
Take it up with Donna.
Donna, where do you think I should go here?
I think you should go down to the lower left and start from there.
Okay. All right. So on the way toward moving who is important to you, stuff's going to show up as it usually does in life that might get in the way of you continuing to move in that direction. And we just refer to all of that as the yucky stuff, things like fear. And for the sake of brevity here, I might be asking for responses from the people in the group. And Donna, you might.
I've lost the audio.
Fear might.
Hey, Donna, can you take over?
Yeah, I can.
There you go.
I would recommend that Donna take over.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go that way. Go ahead, Donna. Take it away.
So when yucky stuff shows up inside of you and it gets in the way, it's stuff like fear, So what happens to you all? Does anybody have any ideas of, what you're experiencing when suddenly you're feeling like you're moving away from who's important or what's important to you, all the stuff that's in your head? For me, it's often anxiety. What about you, Kevin? Phil?
I would say frustration is something that showed up inside of me today.
Yeah, frustration shows up. Stress, anger, fear, anxiety, all those things. Ego, yeah, and frustration. Those
That's
are
the
big
biggie.
ones.
Yeah, ego's the biggie.
Ego always needs protecting, right?
Yeah,
We'll do anything
absolutely.
to protect ego. And so when all of this stuff shows up in our heads, I mean, as humans, we do stuff to get away from it. So we move away from the yucky stuff, right? And we do something like, go to the movies, shop. That's my favorite one. What do other people do to get away from the yucky stuff?
Go for coffee.
Yeah, coffee. That's a good one. So we do a bunch of things to get away from that. And we also, at the same time, can do things to keep moving towards what is important. And even as long as we feel anxious or frustrated or we have ego issues, we can still acknowledge that. And we can do things that will move us towards those things that are important or those things that we want to have happen. So some of the things that I might do is call my son. What might you all do? Yeah, work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Play.
Yeah. All of those things are good. So, Phil, since you're on, I'm just going to say that all of this is what we call psychological flexibility, which I'm going to allow Phil to explain.
Okay. How's my internet connection now?
Very good.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the very short version of psychological flexibility, which is the ability to keep moving toward who is important to you and what is important to you, while taking this yucky stuff with you along for the ride. So even when the yucky stuff shows up, you're still able to come over here and do things to keep moving toward who and what is important to you. So from there, should I continue, Donna?
Yeah, go ahead because I can,
okay.
Can hear you.
All right. So if it gets wonky, let me know. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to be moving on after we've had that conversation. And the next slide that you're going to see here, to advance it, and side is not wanting to. Oh, there we go. Let me move back. We skipped ahead. Right. So after we've had that conversation, we've established.
Okay, so I'll take over. So after we've had that conversation, we've established that we have a way of using the same technique to work with groups, to work with organizations, to work with our families. Right. Things get sticky. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah. So you will find when you do this that starting off this way really gets the collaboration going and it gets people comfortable in the room. And now you're going to set them up for doing what we call the next loop through the matrix, which is, we could call it the group matrix or the prosocial matrix. And now you have another slide, which is with a different question on it. We're going to shift that question from who is important to what is our shared purpose, or what I like to say sometimes is, what are we here to do? And those two are pretty much interchangeable, right, Donna?
Absolutely. And my purpose here is to learn the prosocial matrix. What about other people?
Yeah, so feel free to chat in. What brings you in, and what might you want to move toward here today in terms of the webinar? What would be your purpose for joining us?
So let me ask you, Phil, what's yours?
Well, my purpose right now is to show people the prosocial matrix, and also to show people how you could work with somebody else. So because Donna and I are doing something that we haven't done before, which is
And Christina says,
to see how it's working out. And
well, we've got some neat answers here. Christina says, see how you apply the matrix. Tara says, improve team functioning within her clinic. Kevin says, learn how to fix dysfunctional teams. Cool. Can everyone hear me? John says, practice and be more alert to prosocial. Cliff, gain ideas on how to use the prosocial matrix with teams. So now that we've defined our shared purpose, we can start this process. So Kevin, can you change the slide for me, please, and advance it? Thank you so much. So now in front of us, we have Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions. Back up. Thank you. And just stay there for a moment. Thanks. So this is the strength of Lencioni's model really started with his pyramid and his 5 dysfunctions. His work is now considered to be a classic in the field of organizational development, and it has really brought about a lot of change. So when we talk about it, when we look down there, what do you see at the bottom? You see the foundation of his pyramid, which is about trust, and there's absence of trust. So could you advance the next slide, please? Back up one. So back up one. No, go to the next one. Just the picture, please. Stop. Okay. So looking at this, look at the situation. How many times have you actually felt that way? I know I have. And how does it feel? What was it like? It was like fear for me. Yuck. What about others? Who else reacts to this picture? Kevin, what about you?
You're definitely going to feel pulled in and not wanting to contribute very much.
Yeah, there's no trust in there at all.
Yeah.
What's she afraid this guy is going to do to her? Absence of trust makes me feel vulnerable, says John. Absolutely. Yeah, me too. I agree with that. So, having all these yucky feelings there. So now can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. No,
it's moving too quick.
Well, both of you are doing it.
Okay, I'm going to stop then. If Kevin's going to do it, I'm going to stop.
Kevin, could I have the next slide, please? So here in front of you, you've got the full prosocial matrix. And now we can show you how the 5 dysfunctions are going to map out on it. So the process of trust begins when people feel safe to share, when they feel they can be vulnerable, and they can bring their fullness of their knowledge to the group, which is really important. You know, there's that creativity, their experience, their wisdom. So it's one thing about joining an old group where trust is already established and where, there's a welcoming environment for new people. But it's a whole other thing when you join a new group. So everybody remember a time when you joined a new group and how you felt?
Oh, yeah.
Or when you joined an old group that didn't have trust established, that wasn't welcoming. I know, I felt scared. Yeah, it breaks down effective communication, totally. You can't be creative. You feel stuck. Phil, what about you?
Oh, I definitely feel like just, getting my territory set up around me and making sure that, people aren't going to get too close until I get to the land,
Ego safety. Tara says confused. John says less flexible. Yeah, there's no psychological flexibility in that. So in building trust, so when we establish an environment of trust, it makes it possible to walk into a new group and feel safe, or into an old group and feel safe, either way. In building trust with enhanced psychological flexibility. And then the next step is to expand on that. So, could I have the next slide, the photo, please? Yeah, look at this. So this is the next one. This is fear of conflict. So we're going up one step in the pyramid. And when people are afraid of conflict, sometimes on the way to shared purpose, this stuff can show up inside of people and it can get in the way. It's like, I don't want to rock the boat in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to be really quiet, and I'm not going to engage in anything here. And has anybody ever noticed what goes on in a group when people are afraid of conflict? I shut up. What about you guys? Yeah. Phil,
Yeah.
Kevin?
Oh, yeah. You're going to go quiet. And you're going to be scanning. And I'm going to be looking around for signs of trouble.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jenny says yes. Kevin says he shuts up. I have a smile from Jenny. Yeah. Kevin goes to the bathroom. Stuart withdraws.
Yeah.
I go back.
I might pull out my phone and start checking my email.
I put my head down and keep my mouth shut personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if fear of conflict shows up, then we want to move away from it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So can we move to the next slide? Because that brings up the next dysfunction, which is a really nasty one. Slide, please.
Yeah.
2 slides, actually. So this is mapped onto the matrix. So we're over here on the lower left where there was fear of conflict and the yucky stuff that comes up from it. And so when the yucky stuff comes up, people don't like to feel that way, and they want to get away from that. So what are some of the things that you've seen people do when they want to get away from it? Anyone? Bill?
I missed the question, Dawn. I'm sorry. My internet just cut out.
So I'm saying, so when fear of conflict shows up in the room and people start acting strange, and they don't feel good, they feel really uncomfortable, and yucky stuff really feels bad, and human beings don't like to feel bad. So when we feel bad, we move away from it. So people are in a group, people do things like maybe not holding their peers accountable when they see actions and behaviors that don't move them toward the shared purpose, or maybe they get quiet and withdraw, or maybe they gossip. What else have you guys seen? Argue, blame, gossip, call in sick.
Yeah. Come early, come late to the meeting, or get up, make an excuse that you have to leave.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or shut up, not talk in the meeting at all. Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else?
I've seen the opposite, where people just monopolize. Yeah.
Yes. And that finger pointing takes us to the next slide. So we have avoidance of accountability there, right?
Yep.
And that's
I love this slide.
Let's blame each other. I didn't do it. It's his fault. I didn't do it. It's his fault.
Yep.
Slide up. Yeah. So here we are with avoidance of accountability. So I'll just do anything, to get away from this stuff, and I don't want to be responsible for what's going on. And that brings about lack of commitment. And could we see the next one? So this slide, this is wonderful. How many people have ever seen somebody doing that at work? I have. I've even done that at work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Checked out.
Yep. Kevin? Michelle doodles. Jenny?
Yeah.
Don? Dwight? What do you do? He often does that. I won't tell you.
There you go.
Lack of commitment. So we could have the next slide, please, I think. Jenny says often.
Yeah. Familiar, very familiar.
Lots of ways to be knocked out and avoid everything. Christina says, take too long to get stuff done. Yeah.
Yep.
Just kind of hang in there. So actually, there's a word for this. So behaviors like this one can be known as presenteeism, and that means that you just show up to work and you do as little as possible and you hang out, but you get your paycheck. It's also sometimes called the bystander stance. And I think what's interesting about the lack of commitment is that all three of the other dysfunctions are present in the lack of commitment.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So, you know, when you look at this, you can say, well, these people actually showed up, right? So that's a start. Even if they're just here to get their paycheck, they actually came to work. And that's a
Right.
good thing, right? What do people think?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if I'm just showing up to get my paycheck and I'm present and I'm on a team, what does that mean? If I have a team where some other people are doing their work and I and others are not doing ours, then other people have to double up and do our work for us. And what kind of feelings does that bring into the team? It's pretty yucky stuff. You know, you can really get people hating you when you do that. Yeah.
Right. And what's going to happen? What's going to happen is more stuff's going to show up down here in the lower left as we do less and less of the committed stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have more and more uncomfortable stuff generating and more this avoidance of accountability. So it's kind of synergistic in the opposite way, in the sense of the lack of doing these toward moves are going to really increase this stuff over here on the left side of the matrix.
John has a really good word for this. He says he feels exploited, and that's totally.
Oh yeah, that's a great word, John. I love it.
And there's another word for this, and it's called social loafing. You know, you just hang out and do nothing and let everybody else pull the rope for you.
Yeah, and it gets worse. And the word that shows up for me, Donna, most often about this kind of stuff is resentful. I get to feel very resentful.
Oh yeah. And Dwight says.
Yeah, and Dwight says, pretend not to understand the group focused. Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, just go ignorant, right? Go dumb.
Yeah, totally. So let's go to the next slide, because now we're at the top of the pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, we have inattention to results. And it's just like this picture with the darts. When team members are not committed to the shared purpose, they just miss their mark and they end up all over the place. And so nothing happens. You know, you're just there, you're spinning wheels, and maybe you miss your deadlines, maybe you make them, maybe your product is not what it should be. If it's a proposal, maybe you're going to lose it, which means the organization isn't going to win a contract, you're going to lose money, and then in the end, people are going to lose their jobs. And it just all sort of snowballs, right?
Yeah. Yep. Snowball's a good word. It just gets bigger and bigger.
That being said, who has comments about this one, about what happens when all of this comes together? You have inattention to results. Nobody cares whether you achieve the project goals or not.
Right.
What do you think?
And what we're saying here too is, if you can notice, we got it up at the top so that people aren't paying attention with their five senses. I mean, if you're not seeing and hearing and responding, really in touch with the results of what you're doing. Exactly. And again, that's what pulls this whole thing together.
Yeah, and the thing is that people may be paying attention to with all of that, but they're paying attention to what's not happening, or else they're hiding.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So team members are paying attention to this down here.
Yeah. And Jenny says makes you feel really lonely, and she goes her own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, you feel like you're on an island. I call it. Yeah. I feel like I'm on an island sometimes, right? Yeah.
And people stop.
Anybody else have a comment about that?
Well, Jenny says it makes her feel very lonely. Me too.
Yeah.
So let's move to the next slide. Oh, John says the mind becomes confused and less productive. That's a good one. It does. Yep. My mind just shuts down and I'm not creative anymore, and I feel heavy. My mind gets really heavy and stuck.
Yeah. Right. And then looking around the room and seeing other people doing the same, just going to increase that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a heaviness in the environment. So do you want to go forward?
Next slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall I take it from here, just this next one? Okay. So as long as my internet connection holds up. So what we're targeting with the group matrix, the prosocial matrix, is this whole notion of psychology. And the definition is there, so I'm not going to read it to you. But basically what we're doing is we're creating conditions when we can talk about a shared purpose, when we can get out and into the open and up on the board so people can see the biases and what might show up that get in the way. When people can identify away moves that they do to move away from what they don't want. And also when we can begin to have a discussion about what we want to do to move toward, we are creating psychological safety. And the matrix really works like a charm to promote that in a group. After you go through the second loop, you're going to have people leaning in, and you're going to feel safe within the group, in the sense of that you can say what you want to say, that your opinion will be respected, that you have input into the process, and that you can now move toward that purpose. And then when a group begins to move toward that shared purpose, then we have this tremendous feeling of satisfaction that shows up in a group, where they can accomplish things together that they can't do on their own. And the matrix really works to help us sort all of that out. And then we can notice, for example, when these dysfunctions show up, and they will, rather than them be sticking points, we can begin to notice them, even map them and sort them out onto the board, which we will teach people to do in a training, and help them noticing whether what they're doing is helping them to move forward, or whether it's just helping them to stay more stuck. And then, Donna, do you want to speak a bit about the how we that workability aspect of this?
Yeah, I really do. The matrix, we talk about the matrix as the workability model, and it is because it shows us what shows up and gets in the way of our shared purpose. And it also allows us to know, whether I'm stuck in my head or whether I'm actually out here doing something in the real world where it makes a difference. So when that happens, I can either choose to move away if I'm feeling stuck, or I can say, okay, I can carry all of this stuckness with me, and I can just move up into the upper right, and I can do whatever it is that I need to do to be part of this team and keep moving forward. So that's really, I think that's one of the very great strengths of the matrix, is that it's all about awareness. And it gives us awareness of our outside world and our inside world constantly. And we're always, the thing about the matrix too is that the matrix is something that we're in 24 hours a day. We're always moving towards or away from something, and we're always either in our heads or in the world. We can't get out of a matrix. And so the more we understand that, and the more we're aware of those processes, the better off we are. And when everyone on a team can be aware of those processes, they can move forward as one unit, as a resonant unit, which also brings me to my next subject, because we are going to be doing a second webinar in a few weeks. And then we are going to be looking on the attributes of a high-performing team. So we've got the dysfunctions. So what does a high-performing team look like? What makes it resonant? What makes it synergetic? How are people engaged? How do they perform? How are they satisfied? And how do we retain them? How do we buzz, basically? So I'm going to say that I'm hoping that everybody does come for the next webinar.
Right.
I'm sorry we've had problems with audio and stuff, but I hope that you will forgive us for that. And turn it over to Phil.
Okay. So yes, just like Donna said, we look forward to a part 2. And you have now seen us do this for the first time. And we have gotten to the end of the production. And just like any work team, we're looking toward the result. And the result was to get the information out to you. And I hope that you will find this to be very useful, and check back in with us. And also, I'm going to leave you with our contact information. Thank you, John. Thanks, Jenny. And here's our contact information, and in no particular order. Mine just happened to be first. So this is my information. I am doing training with organizations. I've spent time working in schools.
I put the link to the slides in the window as well.
Oh, good. So thank you, Kevin.
Awesome.
Yeah, and now let me then proceed to Donna. And Donna, do you want to say a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I work with the Matrix. I've been working with Kevin now for 4 or 5 years, I think, at least, and have reached a point where I'm so comfortable with the Matrix and Prosocial that I give trainings in it all the time. and I do consulting in leadership and organizational transformation. I'm very happy to be in touch with anybody who would like to be in touch with me, and happy to go more deeply into this stuff with you at any point in time. So there you have my information. Feel very free to contact me. I would welcome it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
I have a question for John. John, you said not just upper right as an independent operator. I'd like to know more about what that means to you, and you can email it to me if you choose to. Thank you.
So great job. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
The recording link will be sent out automatically in 24 hours. So no worries about that. And you can go to the end of it and see the contact information. And you can click on the link to the slides over there and go to Phil's website and get the slides.
Yes.
And if you
you'll be able to get them on mine as well.
Right.
Yeah, but I just didn't have your website information yet. So or at least it didn't.
It's right up there.
Oh well. Anyways, there you go.
We'll do.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be well.